Before you decide what business to buy or what idea to start or whether to step into a leadership role, you need to answer a different question first. How are you wired? Because I've learned something the hard way. You can run a successful business and still burn out. Not because the numbers are wrong and not because maybe the strategy is flawed, but because business just doesn't match your wiring. Because before you decide what kind of business to own, you need to understand what kind of owner you are. Like what drives you and what actually energizes you. I've learned this the hard way, and I'll go into that in a minute. In this episode, I want to help you figure out what kind of owner you are and how that will affect the kind of business you're actually meant to run. Hi, I'm Matt. I've spent over 25 years building companies as a serial entrepreneur and helping small business owners navigate challenges and avoid costly mistakes. Welcome to the channel. I answer questions all business owners have using real-world, practical experience. Let me know how I can help. Now, I've never personally bought an existing business. I've always built from the ground up. But I've stepped into leadership roles inside established companies more than once, including serving as COO in a few different environments. The first was a relatively young company. There was a lot of room to grow, room to install systems, and room to fix what wasn't working. And I had the authority to make those changes. And let me tell you, it was energizing. We built structure, we hit milestones, we improved performance. There was massive forward motion. Now, the second one looked really good on paper. It was a growing company. They offered me a great compensation package, and there was very established processes, predictable operations. I only lasted less than a year. Now, nothing was technically wrong. The company wasn't failing, but I also wasn't brought in to build. I was brought in to just maintain. When growth slowed, there was no meaningful milestones ahead. The challenges were gone, and I just ran out of energy. That contrast taught me something really important. I believe most burnout doesn't come from business difficulty. It comes from building a business that doesn't match how you're actually wired. Before you decide whether to take a new leadership role, start a business, or buy an existing one, ask yourself this important question. What drives you? Maybe you call it energy or passion or purpose. Whatever you call it, I've found it usually splits into 5 categories. Let me walk through them briefly. And as I do, I want you thinking about yourself and where you fit. I'll describe what energizes each one, what drains them, and the risks to be on the lookout for. Some of us may have elements, in more than one, but usually one dominates over time. And remember, there's no right or wrong type. It's just who you are. But it's important to know where your energy lands so you don't find yourself in a situation where you won't last. All right, the first one is the builder. This is really progress driven. Builders are energized by momentum. They like starting and rebuilding and fixing broken systems and setting targets and chasing them and big challenges. They're comfortable with uncertainty as long as there's progress. So what drains them? Maintenance mode, plateaus, just protecting the status quo. So the risk is that if things get too stable, they may start to create change just to feel movement. And this is a big part of how I'm wired. The second one I call the optimizer. It's more efficiency driven. Optimizers love improvement. They see waste quickly and they tighten margins and they build systems and they clean up operations. They don't necessarily need chaos, but they do need authority to improve things. So what drains the optimizer? Disorganization they can't fix. Emotional decision-making without any kind of logic behind it. Being told, it's okay, we've always done it this way. I have some strong tendencies here too. The risk here is over-fixing. They can start solving problems that aren't actually problems and unintentionally disrupt what's already working. The third one I like to call the stabilizer, and this is very security-driven. Stabilizers are energized by predictability. They like consistent cash flow, protecting what works, reducing stress, long-term durability. They don't need explosive growth to feel successful. But big swings, constant pivots, and aggressive risk-taking and drama can all drain their energy. So the risk here is avoiding necessary change, protecting stability so aggressively that growth opportunities are missed, or small problems are allowed to quietly compound. Some of the most financially successful owners I know are stabilizers. They build steady, durable companies and protect them for decades. It's not small thinking, it's disciplined thinking. And then the last one is the scaler. This is very expansion driven. Scalers are driven by growth in a large way. They want market share and revenue acceleration, bigger teams, bigger impact, take it public. They tolerate debt and risk if it fuels expansion. But what drains them is playing small and slow pacing and over-analysis. The risk here is outgrowing systems faster than the infrastructure or even the foundation can handle. And then number 5, the last one, is the operator. This is execution driven. Operators love clarity. They thrive with clear roles and defined metrics and accountability, execution excellence, and they can run really strong businesses, especially when the vision is already clear. But what drains them is ambiguity, endless strategy without any kind of action, and constant direction changes. The risk here is becoming overly dependent on someone else's vision. I mean, they execute extremely well, but if they don't own or buy into the long-term direction, they're going to feel limited over time. Now, here's where this becomes practical. If you're a builder, kind of like me, and you buy a perfectly stable, well-oiled business with no growth plan, you're going to feel stuck. If you're a stabilizer and you start from scratch in kind of a volatile market, you may feel overwhelmed quickly. Or if you're an optimizer but don't have authority to change inherited systems, like in a franchise, you're going to feel frustrated. If you're a scaler but you buy a lifestyle business with limited upside, you'll quickly get bored. The decision to buy or build isn't just on paper. It's not just financial. It's also psychological. Eventually, going against your wiring will lead to burnout or boredom. It may not happen immediately, but it'll happen. So how do you figure out your energy? Let's think about this. When business feels heavy, what's missing? Do you crave progress or predictability? Do you enjoy creating or more refining? Do you want to protect something steady or just push on toward the next milestone? What kind of problem do you naturally run towards? And be honest with yourself, because the wrong business isn't always the one that fails. Sometimes it's the one that succeeds, but just drains you up in the process. Remember, there isn't a right owner type or energy type. There's only alignment. Alignment creates that energy, and misalignment will drain it. You can build a great business as a stabilizer. You can buy a distressed company as a builder. You can scale a small operation as an optimizer. But if you ignore how you're wired, you may wake up 5 years from now running a successful business you secretly don't enjoy. And that's harder to fix than a revenue problem. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope it was helpful. If so, hey, like, love a subscribe, and drop a comment or send me an email. That's where I turn for future topics. As always, stop, take a breath. You've got this. All right, what's next?